So, Chris, you were at FM 102 so long. You were a mainstay there from like 1980 to 1992.
I was there from March of 1980 to November 30th of 1992.
So, I mean, you were still on top, right, when you left?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I apologize for clearing my voice. That's the old morning show thing. You ever notice that? I do that. Everybody noticed it. I would do it in hockey and the NHL all the time.
Well, it's because you're always chewing tobacco.
No, I did not chew tobacco. Get out of here. It's from every time the mic goes on. Didn't you used to clear your voices?
Yeah,
Constantly.
except at Quad we had so much compression on the mic.
That was true. You guys all sounded like... No, it is what it is. And all due respect to Tina Makua, who's had a good career at Channel 31 with Mark Allen, another kid I hired and brought into the market.
TV star.
Yeah, Mark's a good kid.
Yeah.
He always wanted to get into that, though. That was his
main
big
thing, and he's a good-looking kid, and he's done very well. And
very talented DJ too. I mean, he really did that morning show. I mean, that evening show. That
he could have done anything he wanted to do. He was a very talented kid. He came from a good family, but. The point being is that Tina was not a morning personality, okay? She wasn't a co-host of a morning show. I think she knew that. She did her best, but...
she started in traffic.
Yeah, she came in at a tough time because Dave Ferguson was trying to run me out because I had the big contract.
Ferguson, the program director?
He was, and he had been fired and under cloudy circumstances in Washington. Everybody knew what the problems were. And, his attitude was destroy everything. And then we'll remake it in my image so I can take his contract. That was his goal. And he was so stupid, he was telling people that. So not thinking he would get back to me. I'd only been there 12 years and, I had 10 shares in my morning shows. And, I've been involved in every organization in the city. You would think somebody would use more discretion, but, mental retardation affects different people different ways. So, Tina came in. She did her best, and I'm happy that she's had a good go of it with her television. She's a nice-looking young lady. She was courageous. She's smart, but that's a tough act to follow. Okay, I mean the guy that followed Vince Lombardi, you probably couldn't remember what his name was in Green Bay, and he didn't have as much success as Vince Lombardi, and that's just the way it goes.
Wasn't that Tommy Knight?
I don't know who the hell it was, but the point being is that
the point is we don't remember
exactly, and you're interrupting.
That's what I do.
So I was a driver, and I was a hard guy to work with, and I did that because I wanted people to be successful, and I wanted them to understand that if I left, that they should be able to replace me. And you can ask B, because that was my rule, is that I may not be here tomorrow, but if I'm not, you damn well better be able to do what I'm doing, because I've spent all this time making sure. And I also had that rule with this, and I want to throw this in, that look, if we're not prepared, go home. That's why we had success, because Gillette was the same way in programming. Look at, if you don't deliver ratings, you don't find me the best acts, you don't spend your weekends in Los Angeles or New York, to me, even though you're the morning guy, go down and see the Raiders play, but I want you inside meeting with acts, I want you finding new music. That's what made us great. I did. Once a month I was in New York, inside of bars with Daniel Glass, cruising around inside of the Chrysalis limousine with, Chris Blackwell, listening to acts that they had. That's how I met Jelly Bean Benitez in 1984. I met Bow-Legged Lou and, the folks in Full Force. So I knew a lot of the hip-hop stuff that was coming up. I knew everything about Madonna before Madonna knew that. I knew Chris Kamen. I knew all these people that were producing the vibe. They had the music. I knew who the Pet Shop Boys were 2 years before they hit here. I knew about Laser 558 in England. I understood the value of pirate radio and how it worked and how it affected the British music scene in the 60s, right? That all plays a part in what we were trying to do here. Yeah, because in the end, it's entertainment, man.
We had a lot of people coming in on the show, too. It was really funny, too, because, most of the time, and that was, I think, maybe the main reason why I was there a lot of the times was whenever we had, guest stars coming in, they'd always sit next to me because... The stuff that we did, I just made everybody feel at home because the stuff that we
made people feel uncomfortable and wondering why they came to the show.
How many Morning Zoo people were there? There were a ton of different people.
Our first morning, June 1st, 1983, there was Mike and I and Robbie, who was then a senior in high school at Woodland High School. And then there were 3 of us. And then by the end of the year, Dr. Shubhammer had come in, who was basically the town drunk of Woodland, who I found who could do voices, who had freaked out because Vietnam had not done well. And his collection of ears from the Viet Cong in his box, I think, was stolen or something.
And we're still trying to find him this day.
Yeah, we had those 4. And then in '84, I added a couple of more voices. Here and there. So by the end of '84, probably 4 regulars. By 6 months into '85, there were 6. And by the end of '86, there were probably 8. Wow. And everybody had...
Everyone got 6-figure salaries, right?
No.
Yeah.
I wish. If I had
was that ever a consideration? Like, did budget shape the show in any way?
In 1987, it did. After that first hit piece by Croy coming in and going, 12 to 24 after all our Hispanics, it did, and we adjusted a little bit. But then when I pulled my flank on them, and 6 months later took the station back up to a 9.7, the morning show at a 10 share of 12 plus, I got my money back, and we rebuilt that morning show. B came in, Jeff Stein came in, who was a producer. He was great. I had Brian Silva come in, Matt Montgomery came in, Laura came in, who I loved. Laura Mann, I had at that point at 6.
Yeah, she was Mark Allen's girlfriend.
Yeah, but they had split apart. So I had 6, and you know what? Those 6 were really strong. Brian Silva now today writes a computer game and home game and software. I mean, he was brilliant. Matt Montgomery, a very successful guy based in Minneapolis. B, of course. Laura, was, I think, working in an ad agency back in Jacksonville or Tampa. But, I mean, this show was special. This show, and I had another kid. Remember the Hispanic kid, Johnny Briones, who could do Pee-wee? Yeah. And our Pee-wee was a total pervert. He did Pee-wee and a couple of other things.
But there was interchangeable parts.
That was a phenomenal group. It was a 2-year run on that group. That we had phenomenal voice characters.
Would you say that was the peak of the success of the zoo?
No, the peak of the zoo, the success of the zoo, what I always believe is your first win. You never forget that. It's like your first love. You never, ever forget. I mean, and, the artists that sell that are the ones that win. Katy Perry is the latest of that has sold First Love, this kind of youth kind of thing. It works, right? There's a reason that formula works. Madonna did it in the 80s. Michael Jackson did it well.
Yeah.
But that time, 85 to the end of 86 was an unbelievable time. I mean, that first #1 book, when we beat KZAP, I think we were at 10-9, and KZAP came in at a 10-4 or something, 12 plus. And again, we were like third in teens. It wasn't a team. We were an 1844 powerhouse, okay?
Right.
And it then expanded. We were an 1854 powerhouse. It was an amazing time.
It leaned toward adult women, right?
Of course, absolutely. It never
always leaned toward adult women.
Yeah, whether they wanted it or not. Thanks.
True.
So let's get to the end of the story here that is kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of
My
disturbing.
leaving?
Yeah, when you left FM 102, like, I mean, here you are, someone that put in all that time, has that huge audience, and they don't seem to take that into consideration.
Well,
so what happened?
I'll tell you what. Do you want to do it in this segment, or do you want to have a whole segment? Because
we might need a whole segment for this. So
it's interesting. This will be lawyers watching for some of the guys that I slander now on this one.
All right, let's do it in the next segment. We'll pick up where Chris left off at FM 102.